Welcome to Card Corner. These are the cards, that's the corner. Today I've got these Star Wars Book of Boba Fett Galactic Outlaw trading cards to open for you guys. The Mandalorian is joining us in the corner today to take over when things go south. And let's just open it up and see what we get. So I did watch the Book of Boba Fett, and it was okay. It was definitely not as good as Mandalorian. It did the thing where it sort of delves into the goofy side of Star Wars a little bit too much for me. But what can you do? Here we've got the Mandalorian's new N1 Starfighter. See, he's already taken over. With the Razor Crest destroyed, the Mandalorian sought the help of Peli Moto to locate a new ship. He's shocked and chagrined to find that she has not found him a gunship of the same design to replace his old one as promised, but instead presents the remains of the Royal Naboo N1 starfighter. Reluctantly, he helps her refurbish it, and the pair of them, with the help of scavenging Jawas, build a brand new, sleek, and elegant design. So I don't think it was necessarily bad that it delved back pretty hard into the Mandalorian, but I do think it was a bit of a wasted opportunity. I liked how they set up the story where he was kind of like this boss of this town on Tatooine, but I feel like it would have been better almost like if they didn't feel like they needed to like build on the storyline. I feel like Boba Fett just could have been like this mob boss and having a new problem come up each week that he has his goons solve for him. That would have been cool. Here's putting Grogu's reflexes to the test. When Luke Skywalker first boarded the Millennium Falcon, Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi helped Luke hone his skills with the use of a training remote. The remote would attack Luke with bolts, offering him an opportunity to reflexively respond and tap deeper into the Force. Taking a page from his master's book, Luke applies the same approach with Grogu. Looks kind of ridiculous in comparison to Luke doing it. All right, here it looks like we get a character card. It is Fennec Shand. So I believe that she was like his right hand man, like employee, I guess. Assassin and mercenary Fennec Shand was left for dead on Tatooine. Boba Fett saved her life and she became his partner and enforcer. During the Battle of Mos Espa, Fennec took out the combined leadership of their enemies. Cool design. All right, next, I think this is a parallel blue card. Boba Fett briefs his crew on the Pike threat. As Boba Fett vies for control of his soul, for the soul of Mos Espa at the daimyo in charge. Sorry, guys. As Boba Fett vies for the control. As Boba Fett vies for control of the soul of Mos Espa as the daimyo in charge, he has assembled his allies to brief them on the threat presented by the dangerous Pike Syndicate. Between the modifiers Fennec Shand, Kursantan, the Mandalorian, and the people of Freetown, Fett may have assembled enough muscle to force the Pikes from plying their trade in Mos Espa and perhaps all of Tatooine, but his position is at best tenuous. Boba Fett wanted to take over Jabba the Hutt's enterprise, and now he's engaged in the fight of his life for it. They're doing the thing where it's like moments on cards instead of, oh no, instead of characters. All right, here we've got Boba Fett's final step. In the Tusken Raider encampment, his young friend excitedly welcomed Boba Fett back. The chieftain opened the tiny basket, drawing the lizard back out from Fett's nostril. Boba raised the branch he broke off from the tree, and having passed the trial, he is draped and dressed in Tuscan robes. In his final rite of passage, he meticulously carved his branch into his very own custom gaffy stick. Boba Fett was now part of the tribe. He joins up with those Tuscan Raiders. That was kind of a cool moment. Fennec Shan recovers from her injuries. Back out on the desert dunes, Fennec Shand awakens, and Boba Fett cracks open a black melon, giving it to her to drink. Shand is startled to see the modifications that have been done to her, but is ultimately thankful for what Fett has done. Boba recognizes her and tells her as much. Shand responds with the most natural query. "Who are you?" she asks. "I'm Boba Fett," he replies. Shand doubts his declaration, but his tale is enough to convince her. All right, I think that the Fennec Shand is probably best card from pack number 1. All right, here we get 8d8's briefing. Outside the palace, a Bomar monk spider scuttles by. Inside, 8d8 continues to prove useful in his new role. The droid lays out the status of the city of Mos Espa since the death of Jabba the Hutt, and also, to a lesser degree, of Bib Fortuna. Since Jabba, many groups and gangs have moved in and cut up the territory once belonging to the Vile Hutt. Unprepared for the arrival of Boba Fett, those same organizations wait to see how Fett will lead. He's like getting the knowledge of what's been going on since he got sucked into the Sarlacc pit and survived, interrogating the Lep droid. Before Boba Fett and Fennec Shand could advance any further into the palace, they encountered the LEP series Ratcatcher. In the kitchen, Boba chased the tiny droid in, up, and around the entire room. Finally, he grabbed it by the neck, and the droid shut itself off, thus ending the antics. From the kitchen, Fett and Shand easily located Fett's starship, taking down a group of Gamorreans in the process. Next up were Nikto guards, then Wee Quay. Fennec leapt onto the ship, opened the main gate, and they blasted out to freedom. All right, and our character card for the pack is the Twins. A couple of Hutts there. They're like one of the rival gangs. Jabba the Hutt's cousins arrived to lay claim to the late Jabba's holdings. They tried to claim everything from his palace to Garsa's sanctuary. Learning of the Pike's interest, they withdrew, gifting Boba Fett with a Rancor. Oh yeah, that was one of the cool parts is his Rancor pal. All right, and our parallel is taking on the Scorpionic droid. Looks like he's got a little shield. As Boba Fett makes his last stand with his assembled allies, they put up a good fight against the Pike Syndicate's goons. When the Pikes realize they are temporarily outmatched by Boba Fett's cadre, they call in bigger guns, in this case the massive shielded Scorpionic droids. With shields that repelled all of their weapons, Boba Fett must resort to desperate measures to survive, let alone defeat the mechanized monsters. Boba Fett takes to the perches above the streets of Mos Espa in a vain effort to take down the walking tanks. All right, next up we've got 8d8. It's our first actual in episode character card. Not so long ago, under the rule of Jabba the Hutt, 8d8 spent his days in a very different capacity, specifically Disintegrating and torturing droids for the Hutt. Reassigned by Boba Fett, 8D8 now assists in court, where he specializes in strategy and diplomacy. As the heads of Mos Espa's crime families come to pay tribute to Fett, the new daimyo, it is 8D8 mediating the interactions and receiving the offered gifts and payment. So we went from torturing guys to taking gifts for Boba Fett. All right, and our last card in that pack is Boba Fett's starship rains down fire. Got the Slave One Boba Fett ship there, and the speeder guys trying to get away. Over the Dune Sea, the Kintan Strider gang races along on their speeder bikes. Pulling up behind the gang is Boba Fett and his starship. Fett opens fire on the group, and with nowhere to hide, the bikes are all destroyed almost immediately, along with their riders. Having settled the first of his promised debts, Fett blasts away, ready to take on his next challenge. A little too easy, I think. All right, so the best card in that pack is also the character card, the Twin Hutt guys. All right, maybe we can get our character card to be Grogu or Mandalorian. That would be good. All right, here we get the Gamorreans meet their new master. These guys were in Return of the Jedi, and now they're back as good guys. The pair of feisty Gamorreans served honorably and obediently under both Bib Fortuna and his predecessor, Jabba the Hutt, seemingly destined for torture or execution, if for no other reason than to make an example. Boba Fett presents a slightly more benevolent solution: hire them on himself. Given the alternative to death, the Gamorreans fall to their knees and pledge their loyalty. Loyal so they don't die. All right, here we have laying claim to Jabba's legacy. Here's those twins again. Cautiously proceeding outside, Boba Fett witnesses the arrival of the twins, two gargantuan Hutts being carried on a litter. Claiming they have business to discuss, the twins claim ownership over Jabba's territories, but Fett confidently refutes them, claiming it for his own. I don't care what your tablet says. This is Mos Espa, and I am daimyo here. Fett's claim is met with a brief chuckle and the revelation of a new opponent. Couple of Fetts. Hutts. Couple of Hutts. All right, and here we've got our parallel card. It's a purple one, and it is Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano ponder Grogu's fate. Luke Skywalker tells his father's former Padawan, Ahsoka Tano, about his questionable confidence in his ability to teach Grogu. It's more like he's remembering than I'm actually teaching him anything. After Ahsoka reminds him that sometimes the student teaches the master as well, they discuss Grogu's deep bond with the Mandalorian, and the subtext is clear. There's concern for the attachment that holds. Luke isn't sure what to do and worries that Grogu's heart isn't in his training, so Ahsoka counsels him to trust his instinct. Pretty good parallel with Robo Luke there. All right, and our character for the pack is the Rancor. Aliens and creatures. Large and powerful Rancors have been seen on many planets. Jabba the Hutt kept one in his palace dungeon on Tatooine until it was killed by Luke Skywalker. When Jabba the Hutt's cousins, the twins, left the planet, they gave one to Boba Fett. Pretty cool. This guy was definitely one of the highlights of the season. All right, and here we've got the Majordomo flees in his land speeder. Got a really squirrely look on his face there. Acting on the information relayed by the twins, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand head to City Hall once again to confront the mayor. Facing similar obstacles as the last visit, Fett and Shan are somewhat more aggressive this time. The mayor's majordomo disappears behind the chamber doors and locks it. Breaking through the lock, they find the room empty. However, while exiting through the front door, they spot the majordomo making his escape in a land speeder, and the youths pursue him on their grab scoots. Grab scoots. Yeah, that was probably the worst part of the series was those biker kids. There's like a biker gang, and they got like speeder bikes that are like 1950s style, which like come on. All right, here we get the Armor and Exile. It's a pretty nice one too. The Mandalorian stumbles through the streets of the ring world Glavis. Taking a lift up to retrieve his reward, he learns that the location of an access shaft to the substrata. Heading down Kolzok Alley, he spies a hidden Mandalorian insignia and enters through the door behind it. Working his way down the pathway, he finds the armorer below. She instructs Paz Vizsla to help with Mando's wounded leg, and the two have a pleasant reunion. Pretty good armorer character there. All right, that is the Book of Boba Fett Galactic Outlaw trading card packs. Let me know what you think in the comments. Which card did you like the best? Was it this purple parallel, or perhaps it was the Rancor? I have to go with the Rancor myself. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more trading card shenanigans. This is Card Corner. Take it easy.